guys, this is Sid Patel, CEO of Beverage Trade Network and USA Wine Ratings. We are live here in San Francisco on day 2 of USA Ratings. I have Jim Bube here, Master Sommelier here. He's the wine director of Hogsalt, which is a chain in Midwest, and they control almost about, they run about 30 restaurants, and Jim's responsible for the buying there. Today's episode is very special. If you are a wine brand trying to pitch into the regional restaurant chains, this is a very insightful conversation. Jim, thanks for joining me here.
My great pleasure, Sid. Thanks for having me.
Let's go right into it, right? Like brands that are looking to pitch into chains like yourself, where different concepts are there, not just Olive Garden, for example, where it's the same thing, but in your case, it's every restaurant is depending on the neighborhood or maybe a little different menu, right? What kind of preparation suppliers need to do, how they can learn more about the business, how they can find the gaps? Let's start there.
Yeah, I think it's, the most important thing for me in my current role right now is your access to the market. I'm occasionally approached by brands directly through LinkedIn. They're like, taste our stuff, help us find a good distributor. I'm just like, I want it. I want to help. I occasionally will forward contact information with everybody's privilege, but I'm thankfully very busy because of my job, and route to market is really, really important for my role specifically. So we have a myriad of different restaurant concepts, as I explained, and keeps my job lively because there's not a lot of redundancies, right? We have a restaurant that's only Italian wine. We have some that are American and French only. We have global lists. We have ones where it's canned wine only, right? In our small cheval concepts. Since we don't have individual teams of people in the individual locations that assist me at this point, I'm pretty much the sole person kind of triaging all of this and keeping track of multiple distributors with their individual delivery minimums.
So when you say route to market, I'm just bringing it down to one thing which I understood, that distributors, they need to have distribution and they need to be able to cover all your restaurants. Otherwise, you don't sort of talk with them.
That is definitely helpful, and it's important that you're with a good distributor and a distributor who has a myriad of other things to offer as well.
If you don't work with that distributor, obviously it's very less chance you would want to open a new account with another distributor.
For our restaurant concepts, we're not. It's much more challenging for us to work with a smaller niche distributor, where if it was just one restaurant, it would be much easier to kind of feel that out. But with the multiple restaurants, I need, and
you need the convenience. Also
exactly. The Pinot Grigio from the other guy is going to run out tomorrow, and if you have some of that to offer, it's just it creates a much easier relationship for me.
So let's say that's one part. What other things they can learn? What is the minimum requirement sort of before they get into the meeting with you?
That's a big one, right? And we do business with smaller distributors. It's just more challenging, right? The smaller distributors, occasionally I had a meeting with a smaller distributor, and I was like, well, I know you sell the XYZ prestige brand that I would like to purchase, and it was available. Took a meeting, tasted the wine, bought the wine. It was great, but to have that ongoing relationship, it takes more than that, right? It takes your ability to supply one or multiple glass pours to us usually. So having that flexibility, or even if it's not something we're going to buy immediately, that it is there available to buy, right? So the meat and potatoes pieces of our business, the distributors that we have really great, really strong relationships with have all of those things, right? Champagne by the glass, your prestige high-end Pinot Noir, your, very delicious kind of house Pinot Noir type of thing. So for me, I'm much more inclined to do more business with less people, and it makes our jobs a lot easier. Absolutely. And it makes it easier for our restaurant managers that I work with as well.
Let's say I sent you one email saying that, okay, I'm with a distributor that you already are working with, And I'm looking forward to meeting you and putting my value proposition in front of you. You say, all right, come and see me at 10 o'clock, right? And now I'm in the meeting. What kind of presentation material you would want me to prepare and be very ready with, so your time's not wasted? I got my 15 minutes. I just want to be so, to the point.
Yeah, I think telling the story and sort of showing, and again, we as a restaurant group are different than others, right? We don't always, not all of our staffs in all of our restaurants have the ability to tell a story tableside, right? So it's very important for us to have the brands kind of doing a lot of the work on their own, right? We have hand sell items in our mix, but if you have already generated an organic sort of following for your brand ahead of time, and I know some restaurant groups don't want well-known brands. For us, it's very helpful to incorporate those into our mix. So obviously what the brand is, pricing, all of that is obvious, but what is going to happen with the brand after I buy it, right? I will open a bottle, I will do a pre-shift presentation, I will tell all our staff about it, but having
like the press distribution plan.
And just knowing that there's some element of market inertia behind the brand for me is very helpful, right? And of course, it can't only be that. It has to be quality in the bottle. And, I think that's where the truly great brands in the marketplace are able to thread that needle.
Now available in this restaurant's sort of push. If I add that, 30 days, the first 30 days, we're going to do a lot of social media. We're going to do paid advertising that these wines are now on the wine list of these restaurants.
Yeah, I mean, not necessarily that specifically, but something along those lines, right?
Okay.
Something has happened along the way to get the brand to where it is, right? Okay. I think of, prestige Napa brands or, certain Sonoma brands. They're, you can put them on the list and they will just go, and that for me is very helpful to say, yes, absolutely, let's talk.
Understood. I mean, you're looking for more of a auto sale programs as well, right? I mean, obviously demand is, as you said, you don't want, because of the way it's structured, less hand selling, you want your staff to do.
Yeah, or in lieu of that, something that is just really tremendously compelling value proposition, right? That's going to land at a price point. Most of our restaurants, starts to really slow down over $200, and most of our sales are between $60 and $150 a bottle, right? If I can make a good margin and it's a very compelling value proposition and a brand nobody's heard of, well, we're going to open it up and talk about it, and I'm going to say this estate is next to this estate that's 5 times as expensive, yada yada. Tell the story, taste the wine, and hopefully, there's going to be 1 or 2 servers in the mix that are going to really take that.
Tell me 3 or 4 questions that you ask suppliers when you're in the meeting, so I know how I'm doing, right? Like, I know, all right, he's now interested.
Let's see. I mean, we always used to joke, I was in wholesale for the majority of my career, when and this is maybe not answering your question directly, but
but you're on the other side.
So exactly. When you quote a price and they say, "Is that for a 6-pack?" It's there. It's it's a 12-pack actually. Then it's
Nice.
I think it's important to really kind of lead with what the product is, what it can do before you really get into price point, right? I mean, I try not to think about price point while I'm talking. If they slide a sheet to me, it's usually just turned over, taste the wine, and kind of, usually I have an idea of where it's going to sit. But to me, I think you can be really pleasantly surprised. And I think, the judging that we're doing today is always one of those ways to kind of sort of separate the marketing and the brand from the quality of the juice inside. And of course, they're both important.
Understood. Let's go on the closing side, right? Like we've covered the points. What is a good way to ask for a business, or give me some exact punchlines where, all right, Jim, so how do we set up our account with you? Or what are some good ways to ask for a closing?
Yeah, I think, what can I follow up on? What were you interested in? Is there anything that you saw that may have an application? And is there anything, in the way of us kind of getting this business going, and having been on both sides of both the selling and the buying equation, I wish it weren't true. but sometimes the squeaky wheel gets the grease, you know? And
Absolutely.
I'm very busy, and I'll occasionally taste wine where I'll be like, that's very exciting, that could have a role in our program, but it requires extra work of me, right? Above and beyond, you know, to change the wine list, it requires more work. And obviously this is my job, this is what I spend most of the time doing. But if it's not something that is immediate, because, you know, frankly, things do run out all the time, and making sure that the meat and potatoes of the program is all there, adding something in addition is extra work, it's extra effort, it creates more work for, it requires me to burn equity with our restaurant managers, and it has to be really worth it. And, you know, the occasional reminder, was thinking specifically about a non-alcoholic brand in that category, has been really compelling for us. And it was something that's kind of new to our restaurant group, and tasted some wine, and I was like, you know, something to think about.
Great. One last one. What variety or what trends are you buying more, and what are you selling less these days?
So Burgundy remains pretty hot in a lot of our restaurants. Sancerre is crazy. I'm sure you've heard this from everybody. You know, there is a little bit of a sideways effect, you know, that's happening with that right now. It's in many of our restaurants. It's our number one volume SKU and our most expensive, which is super fun, provided you can keep it in stock, and prices are going up, quantities are down, climate change, yada, yada. So Sancerre has been white hot. So that's been a fun kind of trend to ride. You know, some of the ultra high-end wines, at least in Chicago, aren't as hot as they used to be. New York. It's a very, very robust business for us in the really high-end market. Burgundy is, I think, captured a lot of people's imagination and hearts, but again, pricing for the finest wines make it a little trickier to hit margins, and they're, you know, more and more expensive every day. But Bordeaux has been really exciting, a slew of excellent vintages, and the value play for that vis-a-vis some of the other fine French wines has been excellent as well.
Nice. So people are still drinking expensive wines.
Yeah, you know, and it's all the value play too. You know, it's I think the consumer direction is heading less away from wine as just an everyday beverage, like it kind of was as I was growing up, and into, you know, a much more kind of intentional use of the product. And you know, that is very good for the producers that are very unique and have a long history and are really monomaniacally devoted into quality. I think those are brands that are going to, you know, continue to kind of grow in prestige and price, unfortunately. But you know, you could also argue some of these really great tiny estates, you know, have been underpriced, as weird as it is to think about, you know, historically speaking.